Hello, this is Mr. Atherall. I'm just going to talk a little bit about Jekyll and Hyde. Going to focus on chapters 5 and 6. There's a lot in these chapters which, as the mystery is not yet revealing itself, has this kind of background idea of things hidden. So this idea that society can only see what's on the outer surface, but there's something darker, something deeper, something uncomfortable lurking beneath this. Now, this idea of something darker lurking underneath is a massive idea throughout the whole of Jekyll and Hyde, and what Stevenson's getting at is he's saying this is what our Victorian society is like. We are bothered by reputation. We are bothered by status. We should have a look at what's below that, what people are really like, what the heart is like, what people are really like, and he wants that kind of sense of honesty. So Jekyll and Hyde, the novel is partly about honesty about our desires and being able to be open and frank about those things, which doesn't happen. So there's lots in here about the kind of respectable Victorian gentleman in chapters 5 and 6. So chapter 4, the one that we just come from, it was the murder of Danvers Carew. Utterson goes to investigate this, turns up at Jekyll's house, and Jekyll gives him a letter which is from Hyde, and the letter says that Hyde will disappear. And they notice after they've left that the handwriting looks very similar, and there starts to be some kind of wonderings about whether Jekyll forged this himself, and they're struggling to understand why Jekyll would do that. Now, throughout this, a lot of the good bits are the descriptions of place. So there's loads of fog. Again, this idea of hiddenness. You can't see what's below the surface. You can only see what's in front of you, and it hides lots of stuff. Also, it's a metaphor for Utterson's mind. Utterson can't see clearly, and so he can't understand what really is going on here. So lots of excellent descriptions of setting which are worth remembering. So it describes it as a city in a nightmare. The nightmarish influence is Hyde. It talks about haggard shaft of daylight. Daylight, goodness, positivity is struggling to penetrate the gloom. To be haggard is to be unwell. Daylight is personified here as something that is struggling to break through. Fog still slept. The fog is lingering, disappearing. The drowned city, the city is drowned, it's struggling, it's battling for life. And so that's kind of the background of getting this letter and thinking, what is this letter all about? So it seems like Hyde has disappeared, according to this letter. We then go on to chapter 6. And chapter 6 is where Lanyon has seen Hyde transform back into Jekyll. We don't know that as a reader at this point, and he is unwell and on the verge of death. And he speaks to Utterson, and then later in this chapter he dies, and he's left a letter, and the letter is said, "Don't open this till my death." And when they open that letter, there's another letter inside which says, "Don't open until Jekyll's death." So there's these kind of hiddenness inside hiddenness inside hiddenness, and Utterson, who believes in being respectable, does not open these letters. He doesn't open them because of a sense of professional honour. And it's a brief chapter which really the focuses on it are the sense of horror that Lanyon is experiencing when he's seen this. He's a man who won't go to the extremes of medicine and science that Jekyll goes to, and when he sees that, he's horrified by it and can't stand it. And so there's lots of descriptions of his condition. The rosy man had grown pale, his flesh had fallen away, he describes himself as a doomed man, death written on his face. So there's a sense of Lanyon struggling with what he's experienced. So that's chapters 5 and 6. Just a brief one. They're quick chapters. Have a look at my next video, which will be about chapters 7 and 8.